Chris Williamson stood in front of a room full of high achievers and entrepreneurs in Bali and basically told us we were operating wrong. Not in our business, in our lives. Here's what he said and what I took away from being in person in that room, including the one question I got to ask him personally. Let's start with the thing that kept on whispering the most inside of my head after the entire talk. What is praised in public is what you pay for in private. Here's what that means. The traits that make you successful in business are most often the exact same traits that work against you in your personal life. And to give you a personal example, I am extremely analytical. I look at everything through frameworks and strategies that serves me in business. It creates results for my clients, makes things clear and actionable. I also was dating someone in Bali, and that same approach completely fell apart because in a relationship, and believe me, I had my fair share of relationships, you simply can't strategize your way through it. You have to sit with what you're feeling. You have to sit with the things you can't control. And believe me, my challenge there is that my analytical brain does not know how to be turned off. I find it genuinely different to just be present with someone, to not be solving something. In business, that's a superpower. In relationships, it becomes a problem. And that is something I know I need to work on, to be present and be there to listen without trying to solve a problem. Which directly brings me to the next thing that Chris said. You have two types of brains. Problem-solving brain or a brain that literally does not care about solving problems at all. Most entrepreneurs and high achievers probably have a problem-solving brain. It serves them, it's what drives them, but it's also what stops them from being present. And here's the important part. The trick is not to stop solving problems, because that's just how you're wired. You can't switch that off. The trick is to channel which problems you choose to solve, because your brain will not stop. So give it the right problems to work on. If you don't, you start solving problems that don't need to be solved at all, or you solve problems that are simply not worth your time solving. I personally have a problem with overthinking and spiral over nothing when I don't consciously direct where my focus goes. This reframe made me way more conscious on how I should operate. Chris called this one of the curses of competence. And there was another one that hit just as hard. Allowing yourself to celebrate wins and find joy in smaller things. That sunset you watched with a friend during the week, the task you've been avoiding for days and finally finished, the genuine connection you made with someone new. Big goals are really good to have, but they're not what lets you actually enjoy the journey. Learning to enjoy the small things make the entire road to the big goals way easier. Chris shared that Modern Wisdom, his podcast, is now the 8th biggest podcast in the world. It felt good for about 30 minutes. And then he told us that the drive to go bigger was already there. If you're only chasing the big milestone, you'll never arrive anywhere that feels like enough. Train yourself to appreciate what's already there. But then he also said something that I did not expect, but actually loved. It's idiots all the way up. Here's the example he gave, and I also had a personal experience that fits this example perfectly. When you're a kid, your kindergarten teacher feels like someone who has all the answers, an authority figure, someone who knows everything. Fast forward, a friend of mine who is actually now a kindergarten teacher is the same friend during our university years that got blackout drunk multiple times and made decisions that I will not repeat on camera. The person your 5-year-old self thought had all the answers is that same person who got blackout drunk in university. And Chris took this even further. Mozart, celebrated as a genius, consistently borrowed money from friends, died penniless and in massive debt. Steve Jobs, one of the greatest business minds in history, delayed 9 months of pancreatic cancer treatment to try a carrot juice diet and ACAPEN. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most influential philosophers ever, lost his virginity in a brothel, died of syphilis a couple of months later. He only sold 300 copies of his work in his entire lifetime. Martin Luther King, a man who changed the world, had documented affairs with over 40 women and spent his last night alive with 2 of them. The point is not to tear anyone down. The point is that nobody has it all figured out. Not the people you look up to, not the names in the history books, not the person in stage or in front of you. Everyone is operating with blind spots. Everyone is a work in progress. So stop waiting for someone to give you permission, because they're figuring it out just like you. Now, this is where Chris actually said something that goes against everything that you hear in the self-development space. You probably heard it 100 times: success will not make you happier. Chris responded, suffer and try to achieve it so you can find it out for yourself. Because achieving your goal, whether it's a Ferrari, a couple of million, or financial freedom, finding out it wasn't what you thought will leave you with far less regret than spending your whole life wondering what it could have been like. That doesn't mean work yourself into the ground forever. It means a few years of hard work and discomfort to get an answer, versus a lifetime of not knowing. That's a trade worth making. And that leads me into the deepest concept of the entire talk: the Cassandra Complex. Cassandra was a figure in Greek mythology. Apollo gave her the gift of prophecy, but after she rejected him, he cursed her, so nobody would believe what she had to say. She foresaw the fall of Troy and warned everyone, but the only thing she got in return was being mocked and not believed. The results? The city burned. The most ironic thing is that this pattern repeats itself through history. Ignace Semmelweis, I probably butchered that name, in 1840 discovered that doctors were transmitting childbed fever from autopsies to the mothers by not washing their hands. He begged his colleagues to adopt washing their hands. They laughed at him, and he died in an asylum, dragged away through an infected cut he got in the process. Decades later, germ theory proved him completely right. Cassandras are the people who are right before everyone else is ready to listen. They pay the price for being early. Competence, depth, and vision comes with a cost. The Cassandra Complex is an example of that cost. And all this depth actually made me curious to walk up to Chris and ask him a question personally. Can you walk me through your thought process on how you develop the level of depth in the things that you are saying? His first answer was quite simple. Dude, I recorded 1,000 podcasts with experts in every field possible. Then he actually walked me through it. He said that he does not remember every single conversation, but when he hears something new, sometimes it just connects to something he heard before. A dot gets linked to another dot, and he builds a database of knowledge through his experience. Then he just filters through all of that and arrives at an unexpected answer or level of depth that you and I find rather difficult to find, maybe because our database is just not that big. But what does that mean for you and for me? Collect experiences, gain knowledge, connect the dots, because that's how you create depth. There's no shortcut. You just have to accumulate the inputs and trust that the connections will come. Then Chris ended with one thing that tied everything together: don't wait, which for me directly translated into my own principle: strive now, regret nothing later. Make sure you have nothing left to give. That's what I took away from seeing Chris Williamson live here in Bali. If you want to follow my journey with the people I meet here in Bali, or me just exploring all types of concepts and building my own remote business with the experiences that I gained as a remote young entrepreneur, subscribe to the channel to follow the journey. And if you like this video, I'm 100% certain that you'll love this video right here. Really, click on it. I also have a second channel that you can find right here, where I only talk about business stuff and the things I implement for my clients. And now, as always, visionaries, take action, and I see you in the next one. Ciao!